Should we do vertex? Let's do vertex form. Normally we'd answer homework questions, but I think I worked almost all of them yesterday. And then, y'all feel good about standard form? Look, why is that on there? Go away. Brother. And so we did standard form, right? It was a lot of work. We had to find the vertex. We had to find an easy point. We had to reflect and connect. But vertex form, just like the other forms of a line, standard form of a line to me is the hardest form to graph in. And if you move to slope intercept, it's a little easier, right? Because it gives you the slope, it gives you the intercept. Guess what this gives you? Oh my gosh, y'all are so smart. It gives you the vertex. What was the hardest part about graphing in standard form? Finding the vertex, because you had to find the x, plug it in to find the y. This gives it to you. Isn't that nice? Isn't that exciting? Yay! This is what it looks like. A times x minus h squared plus k. There is something that is the same about this that was the same that was present in the other equation. Do you see what it is? The a. The a, and it has a squared. You're exactly right, and the x, obviously. But the a that's in here, the reason we're using the same variable is it still does all the same things. So remind me again what a did in my standard form equation. Positive or negative, so it tells me up or down, right? So up was if a is positive, and down was negative, right? What else did a tell me in my standard form equation? Skinny or wide, okay? This does all the same things, so you don't have to learn anything new with that, which is nice. Remember, the bigger a gets, what happens to the graph? It gets skinnier, and then what did I say? I said the bigger it gets. So then the smaller it gets, but absolute value, it widens the graph up, right? Everybody okay? All right. The other thing that this one gives you, we said, is the vertex, and this is so nice. Notice this minus sign here. That's going to come into play in just a second. The h and the k together make up the coordinates of my vertex. If either one of them is missing, then it's 0. Because you can always add 0, it doesn't change the equation, right? What do you think if a is missing? 1. Because it's multiplied, not added, right? So I'm going to put a little note here. If it's missing, then it's 1. The thing you have to remember, this is a minus sign. So whenever you form this equation, whatever sign is on h, you take the opposite. And whatever sign is on k, it's the same. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. I hope you find this one easier to graph in. This is my favorite form to graph in. I'll give y'all a second to catch up. Are y'all coffee drinkers? Yes. I'm going to bust out the Keurig, I think, again, put it over there. I don't have any pods for it, but if you want to bring a pod in or something, I'll try to have that set up tomorrow. Maybe hot chocolate. One day I brought in a case of hot chocolate, and we all had hot chocolate. Yeah. All right. Let's do an example. I'm hot today. Is it hot in here, y'all? No. Tell me what you know about the direction of the graph and the shape of the graph. Up and Y. How do I know that? Positive less than 1. Yes? Anybody confused about that? That's what we did before. All right. What is, and think about it before you answer, what's the vertex? -1, -3. You see what I mean by opposite signs? on that H? Because it was a positive. The original equation says that needs to be a minus there, so if I force that to be a minus, that would mean that would have to be negative 1, right? So the H is actually negative 1. If that confuses you, it's just opposite sign, same sign. Some people I like an explanation as to why. If you like the why, there's the why. If you don't, bless you. If you just want to know what it is, then there's that. Good morning. Thank you. All right. Is that still vertex form? Yes. What's the A? -1. Up or down? Skinny, wide, or average? Average. What's the vertex? I can't get anything past y'all. 2, 0. Now, the only bad thing about this form is I don't have just a y-intercept I can grab. So when I do easy point, I have to do the easy point. Remember whenever you couldn't use the vertex for the the y-intercept for the easy point before? Remember that? What did we do? How did we find an easy point? We're find a new x and stay real close, right? Real close. So we're going to do that same thing when we graph, okay? So let me run you through the graphing. Y'all want the steps again? Graph in vertex. My favorite. Steps. This is my favorite kind of step sheet. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Let's do I'll give you a second to get that all set up so you can do it. Did anybody have trouble submitting the homework? I had a couple of people that I talked to. Everybody found it okay. Has Connell talked to y'all about Adobe Scan yet? He's doing that. I was going to say he's dropping the ball. Tell him you already know about it, so he says. Miss McGee showed us. Even though I didn't. And then said, just kidding. Did you? Did y'all use Adobe Scan? Oh, did he? Yeah. You can use your computer, but I think it's easier with your phone on Adobe Scan. Oh, you don't know about Adobe Scan? Before you leave, before the end of class, I'll show you, and then kind of I'll think you're smart. Oh, you can't just open Canvas app on your phone and snap a picture? Oh. Adobe Scan will save you a step with all that. I'll show y'all. I'll show you. Right. I'll just so the first step would be to find and plot the what? What do you think? The vertex. Which we know is HK, H being opposite, K being the same. What is my vertex in my nice little example here? -1, 3. What's the equation of the axis of symmetry? Close. Give me the x instead of the y, though. X equals -1, right? So I've got this -1 being my axis of symmetry. 1, 2, 3. Dotted line, I know yesterday I wasn't doing the dash line. I don't care if you do it or not. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it just helps. Either dash line or mark it with a V for your vertex so you don't lose track. Otherwise, you start reflecting the wrong point and it all goes amok. All right, questions about the vertex and the axis of symmetry. All right, easy point. And this is where we're going to do what we were doing yesterday when we could not use the y-intercept. So I want to stick close to the vertex. All right, do you have to? No. If you want to pick 7 and go down to 700, I don't care. But I don't want to do that because I'm lazy and I want to work smarter. So I would rather stick close. So what is close to -1 that is easy to plug in? 0. That is exactly what I would pick. Does it have to be 0? No. You might pick 0, your buddy might pick 1, somebody else might pick -2 because they might go the other way. It doesn't matter. Parabola is symmetrical, so wherever I am, they're going to look the same when you're done, okay? You just need a point. You need a point. So let's plug her in. Oh, I should probably, here, let me write this. We'll say pick an X close to the vertex. That's your H. And over here, we said we're going to let that be X equals 0. I wrote it in the wrong column. Sorry, I know y'all get aggravated with that because you write in pen and stuff. I mess up a lot. That's also why I like pencil. Or an undo button. I do like an undo button. Okay, so if I plug in 0, I'm plugging into that original equation, right? So y equals -2, 0 plus 1 squared plus 3. Okay, and parentheses first, followed by exponents, then multiplication. So 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. You don't have to take quite this many steps in it, but I want you to see the progression with the order of operations here because that's where everybody always messes up. -2 plus 3 is, of course, 1. So what are the coordinates of that easy point? 0, 1. So we did, in fact, find the y-intercept, but notice it wasn't given anywhere in the equation. Last step is the best step. What do you think it is? My favorite. Reflect. Reflect and connect, right? Reflect and connect. Over 1, over 1. What do you think about vertex form? Yeah? Good, good. A lot easier, right? Good, because I'm fixing to make it a little harder. While we're here, does this function have a maximum or a minimum? A maximum, right? Because it's opening down. So this would be my maximum. What did we say the coordinate was for the maximum? -1, 3. What is the maximum value of the function? Have y'all heard that terminology before? Whenever you're ever asked for the value of a function, you're always talking about the y-coordinate. So if I gave you this and I said graph this and find the maximum value of the function, value always means the y. So what's the maximum value of this function? 3. That's just some terminology you'll see, so that'll be pop up. I want to make sure you can do that. All right, let's do intercept forms. Everybody okay? Am I going too fast? Too slow? Are y'all bored to tears? So don't answer because you're too honest. All right. Do y'all need to stretch a second or y'all okay? Oh my goodness. Here we go with the not answering me again. Y'all just give me that stare. I've talked about y'all over and over. They said, Miss McGee, just give it time. They're going to loosen up. Just give it time. Y'all haven't yet. Okay. Intercept form. What's an intercept? Crosses the axis, the X or the Y axis, it crosses the line, it intercepts the line. That's exactly what it means. So the only intercept we've talked about so far was the Y-intercept. The X-intercepts, however, are actually more important than the Y-intercepts, even though that's all y'all ever done before. So the X-intercepts are, and we will talk extensively about, that's what I was going to say, look, you read my mind. X-intercepts are also called zeros of the function, and they are incredibly important. They're called zeros of the function because at X-intercepts, what equals 0? The Y. So if you've got this equation, Y equals da-da-da-da-da, and you find the X-intercepts, you would say 0 equals da-da-da-da-da and find out what X is, and that's why they're called the zeros. They're what makes the equation equal 0. So they're the zeros of the function, also where they cross the x-axis, okay? This will be very, very important throughout the whole rest of Algebra 2 and your math career, I suppose. Okay, let me give you the equation. Y equals, here's this A again, right? But we're glad it's still A because I know what A does, and that helps me to tell what the graph is going to look like, and it still does the exact same thing, but I'm introducing some new variables here. A P and a Q. So A, I'm going to go ahead and say same thing. Up, down, skinny, wide. If vertex form gives me the vertex, what do you think intercept form gives me? The intercepts. How many intercepts does a quadratic have? How many x-intercepts does a quadratic have? 2. Can it have a different number of intercepts? Or does it have to have 2? 1, 2. Can you think of a time it wouldn't have 2? When the vertex is on, good job. When the vertex is on the x-axis, all of a sudden, I only have 1. Can you think of any other scenarios where I wouldn't have 1 or 2? That's exactly right. Above and opening up would give me no intercepts, or below and opening down would give me no intercepts, okay? So the point that I'm getting to is that everything may not be able to be written in intercept form, but if they have 2 solid x-intercepts, I can write it in intercept form, okay? Y'all tracking with me? I just wanted you to see why and what was going on. All right, it can actually still be written, but we're not going to do all that today. All right, let me show you. Oh no, let me tell you first. P and Q, these are my x-intercepts. Bless you. These are where it crosses the x-axis, okay? But notice minus signs, which means I'm going to take the opposite sign of whatever it says whenever I go to plot. Okay? This is not a point, it's not the point PQ. It's actually the point P0, Q0. Okay, so it's giving me 2 different points. I always tell students, because you start to get the forms mixed up, the number of parentheses tells you the number of points that you're given. This has got 2 parentheses, so I'm given 2 points. Intercept form has one parenthesis, I'm giving 1 point. It's a little silly way I remember. All right, what are you not given? The vertex, right? The vertex. Any ideas of what we're going to do if you have two intercepts? How in the world you're going to find the vertex from that? You're exactly right. We're going to average them together, because how do you find in the middle? Because we know it's symmetric, right? And if they're both sitting on the x-axis, then I'm going to have to find the middle of those two. So how do I find the middle? I'm going to average them together. So if this is P and this is Q, to find my vertex, I'm going to do P plus Q divided by 2. Okay, and then I'm going to plug back in. Have any of your math teachers done notes like this, or they all ran guided notes for y'all? For honors?
I like this more.
When we get past this first unit, we'll do probably some, you'll start to see some of the, I'm assuming they probably used all things algebra. We use a lot of that, but I pick and choose from a lot of it. But right now, I just like to say it. But I did not get y'all a book. Would y'all rather have a book and work out of a book and carry? Okay. Well, y'all can answer my question. Look at that. That was quick, too. No, nobody ever wants this one, and so it's just the one I end up. I'm a fidgeter. I have another one under here. I'll hold this one. Although I'm not nervous either. This is probably one of my favorites though, because of the swirls in it. Alright, but no, I'm not mad. I should not be mad, should I? Are you mad? Do you need mad? Alright, you ready? Let's do an example for a step sheet. Let's do a little analysis here like we've been doing. Let's say if we're done 2, haven't I? Let's do 1/2. Tell me what you know. Up, up, wide. Where are the intercepts? Where does it cross the x-axis? 1 and -4. I am literally just pulling these numbers out of here and changing the signs. So no matter what else, I do know that at 1 and -4, it's crossing the x-axis. I know it's going up and I know it's y without finding anything else. Does that make sense? How would I find the axis of symmetry here? Average. What am I averaging together? 1 and -4. And I want to keep those signs changed because I changed them to graph them here, and those are the numbers that I'm looking at. Could you count? Yeah, you could count. But what happens if one side is 1/2 and one side is, I don't know, 7/12 or something? You're going to need a way that you can algebraically find the 1/2, and that is by averaging. So for my vertex, my axis of symmetry, my x part is going to be 1 plus -4 divided by 2, which is -3/2, -1 1/2. So there's my axis of symmetry. I've given 2 points to start with instead of 1, but I still have a little more work to find that 1 point. Still not as much work, in my opinion, as standard form. How would I find the other half of the vertex? Plug it in. So I'm going to do y equals 1/2 times, this was a terrible first example for, I threw that fraction in there, -3/2, what is that, +4? Let's see, nobody tell me. 2/2, so that's -5/2. That would be 8 minus 3 is +5/2. 25/8. Is that what y'all got? Negative, yep. So that'd be a little past 3. 3 and an 8, just a little past. Just a little past. There it is. I should have just done the steps first. What you think? Which one you like the best? You like intercept best? Really? I'm surprised. I like vertex best. I think it's the easiest. All right, y'all want me to do a step sheet for this? Or do you think it's easy and you just want me to let it go? Let it go. Okay. All right. I think that's literally finishing the last 2 forms. You see, they're so much quicker than standard form. It took us almost the whole block getting through standard form. Also introducing the parabola. Y'all stop me because I make mistakes all the time. It goes down here. How did you, that was a good catch. How did you know mine was wrong? I did that on purpose to make sure. Right, because look. See, I was trying to make sure y'all were paying attention. All right, yes, it goes up. So you're right. So you are right. The range would be y is greater than or equal to negative, what was it, 25/8. All right, my bad, my fault, I'm sorry.